We are here at the Two Rivers, and the Two Rivers, I'm told, has attracted 14 billion shillings, or $140 million. That's a big chunk of our foreign direct investments in Kenya. Today, we are celebrating 10 years of James Mworia's reign at the helm of the Centum Group. My name is James Mworia, the Managing Director of Nabo Capital, and you're watching Invest in Africa. Sam Kariuki, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Sam, what is your role today at the Centum Group?
So I'm the outgoing finance director. I have recently been appointed to head the real estate group of Centum. So I'm the managing director for Centum Real Estate.
Wow. You know, Sam, I've interviewed a few more people, and what strikes me is just the changes. Everybody has held multiple roles, and yours is just underway. But let's speak in your capacity as the CFO of the Centum Group. When you reflect on the last 10 years during James's reign, what really strikes you as notable achievements?
I think as a finance person, my tendency would be to talk finances. Today, Centum sits on 70 billion shillings total assets, 700 million US dollars. That has been achieved without new capital injection from shareholders, has been achieved at a relatively low gearing. But if you look at the ingenuity in the multiplication of capital that has happened in the last 10 years, but I say it's probably the most outstanding thing about Centum and about James' leadership over the last 10 years. Yes.
I like the word you've used, ingenuity. Just speak more about the ingenuity.
Right. Probably I should give a case study. When we came to develop Two Rivers, it was then a Napier grass farm or a coffee farm. We, at that point, the project would not have attracted any capital, debt or equity. So Centum put in the initial green or development capital, went through the whole process of master planning, getting approvals, proving the business case for this development, and convincing other investors that there is a return to be made. And to the point you made earlier, through that process of de-risking and scaling it up, we were able to attract 14 billion Kenya shillings in new capital injections by foreigners. And if I remember that year we attracted that, it would have been about 10% of total FDI inflows into the country. That particular transaction valued our capital 5 times to 10.2 billion shillings. So you can see what you're doing for your shareholders. For the small amount of capital injected, through a whole process, a very ingenious process of investment structuring, you're able to grow their shareholder funds at a very low initial entry capital point.
No, I like that word again. Let's just explore it further. So when we were buying into the Two Rivers 100 acres that we are sitting on right now, what was the price and what is the market value of land in this place today?
So the Napier grass farm then was valued at 11 million shillings an acre. The whole process of master planning, a mixed-use developments, building the largest mall, Eastern Central Africa, and actually the largest mall, Sub-Saharan Africa, outside of South Africa, developing what is without a doubt world-class infrastructure, because I would say Two Rivers today, the only equivalent is Sandton City or Waterfall City in South Africa, anywhere in Africa. So through that process, which is what made the business case for the other investors to come in, you realize you're able to attract brands that are international, that otherwise would not have to come to Kenya. So there's a whole process of de-risking and scaling it up, which is what would have attracted the kind of capital I talked about.
So de-risking and value creation. And now we are sitting on what?
So to the question you asked earlier, so we bought it at 11 million shillings an acre. Through that whole process, we were able to sell 2 sites to third-party developers because that was always part of the business model. Today, the valuation, if I look at the equivalent acreage valuation, it's about between 305 and 350 million shillings from the original 11 million shillings. But what we sell here is a technical product. It's what you call development bulk.
Yes.
Meaning if, say, Nabo Capital wants to develop an office, or your client wants to develop an office block, there will be a developer wants to build a certain square meters of a development or of space. It's what you buy here. You buy exactly what you want to build, which makes it all in, cheaper than building or buying a site elsewhere and building. So we have about 1.3 million square meters available for sale. The last sale in the two other developers I mentioned, the selling price was 25,000 shillings per square meter. So you can see the kind of valuation you're talking about. If you have to value the bulk available for sale, it is somewhere north of 30 billion shillings from an initial investment of 2 billion shillings.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that is very profound. And I think what is interesting is just the uniqueness of the concept. Or you're not selling land, but you're actually selling development.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Let's digress a little bit. I think we tend to focus so much on what has happened within Centum. What about the neighborhood? What has been the impact of the emergence of the two rivers?
Okay. So if you walk to Ruaka today, or to all the other neighboring developments, the land around those places in the last 6 or so years since we started developing this wider two rivers development would have increased in valuation anywhere between 6 to 10 times. Meaning the communities around you or any other investors around you have benefited immensely from this development. One of the funniest things when I've sometimes driven through Ruaka and you find some apartments named Two Rivers View apartments, or if I'm a developer today in the neighborhood of not just Ruaka but Kiambu County, one of my positioning, market positionings will be that I am X kilometers from the Two Rivers development, meaning it's a key driver of real estate development in our locality. But away from investment, we are investment people, so we talk finances. One of the things I admire most about the original thinking is that we had the community in mind, and we spent up to about 185 million shillings building a high-class, world-class school for Mathare children. So today, if you go to Mathare, you'll find a major development by Two Rivers Development. Infrastructure-wise, I would say one of the best community schools anyone can get. We spent a significant amount of money in that, partnering with the Nairobi County government. So not only are we looking at impact on other investors, but also communities. At the peak of developing, at the peak of our development, we had anywhere between 1,200 to 2,000 workers working here, either directly or as casual laborers. Again, you can see the kind of employment impact we had on local communities. And subsequent to that, if you look at the total number of shops and the number of people who work in those shops, if you look at the international brands you brought in here, it means you've created another category of permanent employees. So it's not just impact at the investment level, but in touching real lives, touching communities, and touching real people. Touching families.
So, as the CFO of the business, you've definitely been very privileged to work very closely with James Mworia. In very few words, how would you describe him?
Okay. So I've worked with James for the last 3 years, and what I find intriguing is the easy way we relate. James is a young man. The organization is young. So we relate in a very informal way. We don't have a hierarchical system here in Centum. So it's a very natural, easy relationship that is very much focused on positive results, focused on impact, and just focused on building, real, genuine interpersonal relationships. So I find James very easy to work with. But I'm also happy to say he's probably the best coach or the best mentor I've worked with. For me as a finance person, it helps that James has a very strong finance background. He's a CPA Kenya, he's a CFA, he's a CIMA. So it's very rare to find CEOs who have that very strong financial grounding and financial acumen. So for me, it has been a very easy ride because of that. You're able to engage with the CFO on common terms and in a language that both of us understand. So I have as well learned a lot from him, especially in corporate finance. He's a good coach and he's very keen on people development. So he's a leader who is very focused on driving positive results, focused on on performance. So he's created a very performance-driven culture.
Yeah.
But there's the other 50% of him, the soft side, where he not only thinks about you from a business perspective, but sees you not as a resource, but as a friend, as a human being. The first EXCO meeting I attended when I joined Centum, must have been in the first week of I joining. Already James had positive things to talk about me, based on a few days of interaction. And I remember thinking, wow, that was quite touching.
Yes.
When you hear, I know the CEO's word carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
When you hear that something small you did in the normal course of your work, being noted by the CEO, from a personal level, that definitely does touch you.
Yeah.
And I would say that goes across all other levels. Every time we have staff meetings, staff getaways, town hall meetings, you will see James has the tendency to recognize individuals and their particular contribution. And not just particular contribution to Centum and our shareholders' worth, but also to communities around us, what they're doing to the wider.
Yeah.
The other thing that stands out for James specifically is the meaningfulness he creates in our work. You know, it's one thing to come to work, you do your work, 8 to 5, you get your remuneration and you deliver that you're supposed to deliver. But it's another thing to have meaning in what you're doing. And if the running theme in James talks to staff, but also to people outside of Centum, is finding meaning in what you're doing. He keeps reminding us that what you're doing has an impact beyond Centum, has an impact on real families, on your communities, but importantly, at the national level. So the pride of Centum today is that it's an indigenous local organization built from a very small capital base to become one of the countries and actually regions leading businesses. And you know, we are competing with other multinationals around, or brands which were started by multinationals. Centum is a company and a brand created by Kenyans, built up by Kenyans, managed by Kenyans, and doing greater things in Kenya, in East Africa, and now actually in parts of Southern Africa.
So very interesting, and I mean, must be one of the very rare to meet that kind of person. But as the 10-year reign is coming to an end, and now we are projecting forward to probably what will be dubbed as Centum 4.0, and that is also coming with transition for you as the new managing director for the entire real estate portfolio. Investors are definitely wondering, we've enjoyed the last 10-year ride. How is the next 5 years likely to be? If you can speak to them, what would be your key message, especially around real estate?
So we spent the last 5 years building intrinsic value in our assets. Centum 3.0 was a development phase and scaling up the business. So the focus on the Centum 4.0 was growth. And consequently, we were able to treble the size of the business to the $700 million business that it is today. The focus in the next 5 years under Centum 4.0 is now leveraging on this portfolio of 700 million in terms of assets that we've created to generate the cash flows, because now our shareholders are increasingly looking for increased dividends. So we are very keen to continually grow the dividend that we are paying our shareholders. You will still see the focus on growth that we've enjoyed over the last 4 years, so we expect that to continue accelerating. And another notable milestone we are looking to close in the next between the next 2 and 3 years is to pay down all the debt at Centum level, and the returns that we pay to our debt capital holders can then go to our shareholders. So it is really leveraging and optimizing the asset portfolio that we've grown to date to generate increased cash flows for the Centum Group and for our shareholders.
So there it goes. Increased cash flows, continue growing, deleverage the business. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to have this conversation with you.
Thank you as well. Yes.
Thank you for watching. I hope it has been inspiring to have this conversation with you. My name is James Mworia, the Managing Director of Nabo Capital, and you're watching Invest in Africa. Thank you.